The college football experience, BYU Cougars 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by Edge Boost. Yes, Edge Boost enables you to double your bet with no interest. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to get started today. Once again, that is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. We're also brought to you by Bird Dog Shorts. Yeah, the world's greatest shorts are hooking you up with a free Yeti style tumbler when you order over at birddogs.com/pool. Once again, that is birddogs.com/pool. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
Hey, everybody, Jim McMahon here, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. BYU Cougars 2023 season preview episode. I'm excited. I think all of Utah is excited, especially Provo, because they are now in the Big 12. Well, I guess by the time this game one kicks off, they will be in the Big 12. And I'm excited for all that stuff. Maybe you're wondering just who the hell you're listening to. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I am excited, buddy. I am excited. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe. Tell a friend. All right, as we break down all 133 college football teams, every single team in the land, solo pod. We've been doing it for years, folks. So spread the word, all right? And I'm excited to talk a little Kalani Sitake. All right?
Hello.
There's Big 12 fans. Maybe they weren't paying attention to BYU. Kalani Sitake is not an appetizer at a restaurant. That is a great coach, all right? I'm excited. I am joined by my co-host. Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi-oh.
Oh, let's get it going. Let's get it going. Patty C, I'm going to go ahead and say this. The BYU Cougars, 3-time national champs. In my mind, we know college football has been incredibly fickle. So the Des Moines Register said, the 1945 national champions were, some random team. So they honor it. They put a trophy up there. Well, I'm going to go ahead. We are part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, so we are
we're a publication.
We are a publication, so
we're awarding post, not posthumous, I guess you could say that, national championships after the fact.
Yes, you can do this,
credit that they have earned.
Yes, and I think you could say, okay, let's go back to 1983 championship. 84, we know obviously they actually gave them a championship. I would also think you could probably make the case for 1980 with Lavell Edwards, but certainly 1996, where they had the same record as the Florida Gators at 14-1 and never played each other. But it's crazy how they just give a national championship to one team when they have the same record as the other team and they never played. So I will give them a national championship. Put that up there. I am honored to have this next guy on the show. You're going to be hearing this guy. Well, if you're a Big 12 fan, I think you're gonna go out of your way probably to hear this guy soon.
Yes.
Future host of the Big 12 college experience, which we're super excited. Me and Patty C started this a long time ago. In a 2-bedroom apartment, or not even that, a studio apartment in somewhere in Los Angeles, California. We're excited that to branch off and have our own stuff. But he also hosts the Ryan and Rush show, which is one. If you've listened to the College Basketball Experience, Ryan McIntyre is a part of that as well. And I know he is close friends with Ryan McIntyre. Give it up for Rush Bishop. How you doing, Rush?
Doing great. And something about that 1980 team, I think if I remember correctly, which I don't remember the highlights. That was that was the Miracle, the Holiday Bowl, where they beat Doug Flutie, I'm pretty sure.
With Jimmy Mack. If you heard the introduction, Jim McMahon, friend of the program. Yeah, it was
that was SMU.
Yeah,
I mixed it up.
Craig
I mixed
James
up
when they had Craig James. Yeah,
that's the Hail Mary, right?
Yes, it was similar to Doug Flutie's. I'm first time on here. I'm so excited to talk about BYU football. I was born in Provo, grew up with Moneyline Mac in Northern Virginia, located in Morgantown now. That's why you'll notice the contradiction here in the background. Probably most gorgeous stadium though, Lavell Edwards Stadium, hands down.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to bring on a guest later on to talk about that, but. Are you wearing a BYU shirt right now?
Absolutely. My brother actually got this. They hand these out at football games. My dad, my mom, and my brother went to BYU. I was the reject that went to West Virginia. My dad said so when BYU. I know we'll get to the schedule here in a bit. When BYU and West Virginia played back at FedEx Field, what was that? 2016. My dad, he said he was like. I looked over at my side, the BYU side. There's 21-year-olds holding 2 kids. And I looked at the other side. There were 21-year-olds holding 2 beers. It was the battle of lifestyle. So that's what it is. So.
I want that to develop into a rivalry game just because, the meth heads against the Mormons. I feel like that's just, it would just be entertaining.
Catholic
just the contrast
meth heads, Mormons, it's got a ring.
Yeah, they did a 30 for 30 Catholics versus convicts. Come on, we could do this. Now, I first off, yes, Jim McMahon, all those years with Lavell Edwards, who really put the program on the map. It's now Lavell Edwards Stadium, and Jim McMahon, friend of the program that's been on the show. And then, our good friend that passed away, Mike Leach, we were honored to become friends with Coach Leach and really develop a good friendship over the years. He was kind of our first break into, getting a lot of, former athletes and coaches and just anybody with any clout on the show. I feel like Coach Leach was our first.
He's LDS, right? Leach.
Yeah, and he was a GA. He started his career with Lavell Edwards.
Yeah,
that's where. Yeah, so
he was actually a rugby player.
Yeah,
and then he would go into the film rooms and watch football with Lavell. Yeah,
well, and he told us that he would, he had said that was a dream job. Essentially, it's a shame. Like, it would have been great to perhaps see that at some point. Even though not that I want to see Kalani Sitake go, but Coach Leach, rest in peace. And then obviously such an awesome character in college football. Hopefully, the College Football Hall of Fame does the right thing and puts him in the Hall. Kalani Sitake, though, I do want to talk about this as I know we're going to go break down the offense and the defense, but I'm just curious, just out of, I've been to the beautiful state of Utah several times. But I don't have a pulse for the, they had Bronco Mendenhall for so long after, Lavell Edwards, and then Kalani Sitake. So he's 56-34. He gets them. They're going to the Big 12. I was just curious, and I know you're not in Utah currently, but your family is connected to it. So what's the pulse? Are they super excited for the move to the Big 12, and are they happy with Kalani Sitake? I feel like 3, 4, or 5 years back, he was kind of on the hot seat and was able to somehow get out of that. I know Sitake played at BYU, so maybe they had a longer leash, but I'm curious your opinion on Kalani Sitake and move into the Big 12.
Yeah. So the BYU fans, first speaking just towards the Big 12, is they wanted to be in the Big 12 5, 6, 7 years ago. Iowa State did everything they can for that not to happen until the Big 12 realizes we need that BYU money. So that's why when we get to the schedule, that's a big game when Iowa State goes to Provo. Anyway, but Kalani Sitake, yes, you're right. He was on the hot seat 3, 4 years ago. The problem with him is there's always just that 1 or 2 games that he just should win and he doesn't. He builds this momentum, and then it's just in a way, it always seems like it's just for nothing. But the pros with him is he's done a really good job of, especially, we'll get to the defense side of it. I really like this new defensive coordinator that they hired from Weber State.
We love him too. We love him too. So
yeah.
we're gonna dive into that in a second. But continue.
Of course. So, but my point with that is the fact that he's done better at delegating and kind of letting go. I think he was one of these kind of younger head coaches and loves BYU, played there. Of course, he's Tongan. A lot of Mormons come, from the Polynesia, pardon me. And so he's able to relate to the culture. And when he focuses on the culture and focuses on kind of delegating the tasks and being kind of the culture builder, he succeeds and he does an excellent job there. It's when he kind of tries to meddle, that's when it becomes an issue. And that's what he tried to do a couple years ago. That's why he was on the hot seat, and he did a good job reversing that. So I think they really still like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and I do too. Patty, see, you like it?
I think he's a great fit. I wasn't sure at first. Obviously, following Mendenhall had slipped just a little, 8 or 9 wins for his last 5 years or 4 years after many 10 or 11 win seasons. And then Sataki comes in. He had a great first year, 9-4, but then 4-9. It was like, okay, 7-6, 7-6. This guy's not it. But then boom, 11 wins, and really should have been 12. They went to Coastal Carolina, who was also excellent.
On the fly.
Yeah, on the fly.
Yeah, that was the fast food game. Essentially, you just hurry up. Hey, Wednesday night we find out we play Coastal Carolina. We'll see you in 2 days.
Mullets versus Mormons. I had that shirt. Mullets versus Mormons.
Yeah, there you go. And they ended up on the 1 yard line. Just short of it.
Yeah, that was a great game.
That was almost an undefeated season. Yeah. Granted, the schedule was a lot easier that year, but still followed it with a 10-3 against.
You can only control what you can control. Yeah. I mean, who knew a pandemic was going to come through, and all these conferences stick together? I mean, Notre Dame was fortunate enough to find a home with their weird allegiance with the ACC. That was
a weird situation, but he did great in that situation, and he's pretty much maintained it. Last year was a little bit of a disappointment. Just because, like you said, they lost some games that I thought they should have won. Jaron Hall,
they did lose East Carolina, but I don't think they should have won that one. But look, we're going to talk all about it. I want to tell you that the college football experience, BYU Cougars 2023 season preview episode, is brought to you by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is the world's first bet now, pay later Visa card. Yes, Edge currently offers up to $2,500 in betting advances, which can be an extremely valuable tool. Imagine what you can do with an increased bankroll. You could get down on some of your favorite futures without tying up your bankroll for months, double down or, on a favorite bet you like, or, perhaps create an awesome middle or even hedge. I know that sounds disgusting because we don't advise that here, but some people look. Edge Boost it isn't it isn't some sleazy loan shark.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, this is why I would the age old tale of like, is gambling better legalized or not? It's so much better. Because we, like the Alabama baseball thing, we found out about them. You know what I mean? Like, before, you're finding out 10, 20 years later, and some people could suffer repercussions that you still don't even know about. Yeah. Well, before, you were like, you're meeting up in an alley with Paulie 2 times to place your bets. Hey, you owe, you lost your money, and, you could easily go down a rabbit hole of owing a lot of money.
Yeah, you're sneaking on down from Provo down to Vegas, trying to have a fun getaway, and you come back with a limp.
I'm just saying. I really believe this too. What's great about Edge Boost is they charge 0 interest. So before you get down a few bucks, and they're going to charge you interest, and you're never going to get out of that hole. Go watch the movie Bad Lieutenant with Harvey Keitel. But like that,
I think I just watched that the other day.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Awesome.
But I mean, you can see how that could happen to people. This is awesome because they're not trying to. Your kneecaps are going to be fine, but B, you're not going more in debt. All right. So look, Edge Boost can be a big part of like responsible gambling, and a responsible gambling plan is you can set up daily, weekly, monthly limits across all your betting accounts in one place. Support SGPN and grow your bankroll by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge to sign up. Once again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/edge. Must be 21 years or older to use. Problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. We are back on the college football experience. BYU Cougars 2023 season preview episode. Patty C, I'm curious, like, what do you think of this jump? I think if there's one team that's equipped to make this jump, the way that BYU scheduled in previous years, was bonkers. Like they would schedule like, okay, UCF, Houston, Cincinnati, all good programs, but they had AAC schedule. So you're playing Tulsa, you're playing South Florida. Occasionally you play a juggernaut like East Carolina, but besides that, you know what I mean? Like you don't have a game at Temple with 13 fans. BYU has been challenging themselves for quite some time.
I mean, when they were in the Mountain West, they were doing a good job. You know,
but when they went independent, things got crazy. Short of the COVID year, where, like I said, that everyone stuck to their conferences.
They were really insane there for a little while, to the point where we routinely on the podcast said, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, this is not how you build a program. You're putting 12 Power Fives on your schedule." Didn't they do that one year?
I feel like it was something very close. It was like Boise outside of that. So it's like you're basically putting 12. Right. And I mean, they've been scheduling. So I think if there's a team that's the most equipped to come into the Big 12 conference play, where it is a grind, night in, night out, or in football instances, week in, week out.
Yeah,
you're playing like a top, really like a top 70 team.
I agree completely. I think they are the best prepared, you know, based on their scheduling habits of the past.
So anyway, I feel like coming into it, that's a team that I think is most equipped. I know we're going to talk all about it. Let's jump into the offensive side of the ball.
Not to mention they've been successful lately. So, you know, if they were coming in playing a hard schedule and taking losses, that'd be one thing, but they've been holding up pretty good against decent competition.
Yeah. So, anyway, let's dive into it a little bit, buddy, because I don't know I think we lost our guest for a minute here, but maybe he'll be back in a second. But the transfer portal. Let's start there actually. Before we talk about the offense and defense side of the ball, I gotta talk about the transfer portal. And shout out to Welcome to UAB, because he loves every year we've been doing this. We've been around for 5 years, and every year that we do the season preview with BYU, he enjoys the fact that I have a hard time reading the Polynesian names for the most part. Right?
This is no slight on you. Nor you have a hard time reading anything other than Jones. Let's be honest. But when we get to the Polynesian names, it gets real fun.
Yeah. So departing from the transfer portal, because you got to talk about it. It's such a key thing in college football in 2023. If you got to mention the transfer portal. So with that, and I think here's our guest here. Hey, I know we with technical difficulties. I get it, man. I'm in the middle of explaining the transfer portal here. And once again, I was telling Patty C, I probably will pronounce some of these Polynesian names incorrectly. And shout out to our listener. Welcome to UAB, who loves to pour himself a glass of whiskey and just hit rewind on me pronouncing these names. Departing though, offensive lineman Vea Safua to Weber State, defensive end Brooke Mele to Northern Colorado.
Don't try and put an accent
you
on
like
it.
See what I did there? Offensive tackle Zoom Epstein. I don't know. He's gone, right? And he didn't land on a place. Cornerback George Udo to the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now that one I find super interesting because they're joining the Big 12 too. What's going on here? Safety Deion Jones goes to Southern Utah. Safety Logan Peely to Utah State. Man, keeping him. Defensive end Isaiah Perez to EW Eastern Washington. Cornerback. This is a huge one here. Gabe Judy Lally to Tennessee, and Tennessee came calling for a couple players. Cornerback Corbin Green also at the portal, hasn't landed anywhere. They lost the Oakland A's. They lost the Bash brothers quite some time ago, but BYU lost the Barrington brothers. All right. Clark Barrington on the offensive line and Campbell Barrington. They head out to Baylor. That was some tough losses there too. Offensive lineman Talon Tagai. I'm probably butchering that name. He goes to Idaho State. Athlete Nathaniel Gillis to Northern Colorado as well. And this is another one. Linebacker Keenan Peely to Tennessee. Like I said, Tennessee came in with some of that SEC money and I think grabbed a couple players. Defensive end Logan Fano goes to Utah. Wait, what? How you gonna go to the rival? I guess because you don't play. That's the one thing about them joining the Big 12. They gotta play every year. That's why I want Utah to join the Big 12.
Yeah,
they gotta play every year. I want the Holy War on Black Friday.
Bring Colorado and
every
Utah
year.
over.
Yes,
let's do this.
Yes, we got to. Rocky Mountain football. Tate Romney, the Romney name. There you go. Linebacker. He goes to Arizona State. Tight end Dallin Hooker to Colorado State. Quarterback Jacob Conover to Arizona State. Wide receiver Terrence Fall to Northern Arizona. Man, it's a lot of players. The incoming transfers. Offensive tackle Ian Fitzgerald from Missouri State. Missouri State, solid FCS school. That's a good gig. I know one of the things they wanted to do is bolster the offensive and defensive line.
Well, they have accomplished that.
Yeah. So cornerback Eddie Heckard coming in from Weber State. We'll talk more about that in a second. Kicker Will Farron from Boise State, and I see he's penciled in as their starter. Athlete Crew Wakely from Utah State coming in. Quarterback Kedon Slovis also penciled in as their starter. Defensive lineman Isaiah Bagnoff from Boise State, where he was a strong contributor to the Broncos defense. Running back Aidan Robbins. This was a huge get. UNLV is probably their best offensive player. UNLV.
Yeah. Previously
was at Louisville. He comes in. Defensive lineman Wyatt Dahl from Southern Utah. Defensive lineman Jackson Cravens from Boise State, where he was a starter. Cornerback Dylan Flowers coming in from Southern Utah. Offensive lineman Waylon Lapuho from Utah State. Offensive lineman Paul Melee from Utah. Wait, so they traded Logan Fanu to Utah. They get Melee, the offensive lineman in the back. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Linebacker AJ Vong Pachacon from Utah State. Offensive lineman Jake.
Just try and spit that one out like you nailed it.
Man, right? Offensive lineman Jake Eichhorn from Weber State. Wide receiver Keelan Marion from UConn. Offensive tackle Caleb Etienne from Oklahoma State, where he started. Wide receiver Darius Lassiter from Eastern Michigan, who anyone that, a lot of our fans, they do the Maction. We do a Maction episode when they go to weekdays every Tuesday and Wednesday in November. And we play the DFS side of it, and Darius Lassiter is a good get by them.
Nice.
Cornerback Camden Garrett from Weber State. Running back Deion Smith with Colorado, who actually had so he popped a couple games. He was a freshman last year. Looked all right. Linebacker Harrison Taggart. Wasn't he a cop in Beverly Hills Cop? He's from Oregon coming over. That's a lot of transfers, man. That's almost like I'm sitting there. We're supposed to grade these things on every episode. Did they win or lose the portal? I actually think this one is really hard to really judge. And you look at, they lose a guy to Utah, but once again they gain a guy from Utah. But they lost the Barrington brothers, who I think were substantial. They also lost the two guys to Tennessee on the defensive side of the ball, and Peely and Judy.
It's got to hurt.
Udo to Cincinnati, which is in conference, which you'll be playing. So there's that. But at the same time, they brought in, to me, when they got Kedon Slovis, providing he stay healthy.
It's a humongous pick.
Unbelievable get for them. And then Aidan Robbins, who I think was a huge get for them because they were not the greatest at running back. Not only that, they had Deion Smith. I think they won the portal. But there's so many names. It's like, look, it's a 405 over here. But I think they would. Do you think they won the portal, Rush?
I do. And apologies for I had to go to the hotspot. Morgantown found out I'd be praising BYU, so they cut off my Wi-Fi right away. So I do think they won the portal. According to 24/7 Sports, I think it was, I saw that they had the 18th best class portal coming in, something along those lines. I think something that's really big for BYU in the transfer portal era, one specifically to this year's team, is Slovis coming in. He does bring experience. And of course, if he stays healthy, that can be a really good thing for BYU. Yes, that is a big if.
That is a big if.
And there's a lot of West Virginia fans that remember him saying, fuck West Virginia when he played for Pitt. So just making that note. But I will say, I will say in the transfer portal era, believe it or not, that really helps out a school like BYU, because a lot of people can't do, like, I can't go to a Mormon school for 4 years, but hey, I can go to the quarterback factory for 1 or 2 years. I'll deal with it for a lot shorter of amount of time, get good coaching, good culture. And there's a lot of money in Provo, a lot of money.
I was about to say, is this officially, Patty, like when you talk quarterback, this has to be up there.
Oh, it is.
I mean, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Ty Detmer, Steve Sarkisian was a quarterback here. I mean, on and on. John Beck played for the Washington Redskins. You can go They've had most recently the Zach Wilson. They have had a slew of quarterbacks drafted. So I would put this up there with any school as to me, quarterback U.
It's not one that probably gets the national attention for that, but you're right. They have put out. I mean,
Robbie Bosco.
Who are the truly elite quarterbacks that have come from BYU? Obviously, Detmer was in college. McMahon won a Super Bowl. Young was maybe the best quarterback in the NFL for half a decade.
Yeah.
I mean,
then you add
Taysom Hill gets playtime.
Yeah, I mean they have like 10 names. I think you have to throw them up there with quarterback U. It's interesting you mentioned some of those things, and I want to ask you this question before we go in there. And this is kind of on the fly. I didn't think about this until right now. BYU was able to, in years past, especially a lot of those years, I think some people would argue their advantage would be they can get these guys that are 26, 27, 28 years old.
Sure.
Right. Well, it seems like all of college football right now is 26, 27, 28 years old because of the red shirt, the normal red shirt, but then also the second red shirt where they deem that, and they can also do that based off of 4 games now. It used to be like, I think you played in 1, you can't. And then the COVID eligibility. You saw Georgia win the national championship last year with Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Who was like 35 years old. I feel like, no, I'm joking, but he's like 37 or he was 27. So
he's like 25,
right?
25, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he still hasn't graduated. So he's still
the same age as Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. My point is I wonder if that has been some of the challenges, because I previewed a team. Who was it? Boise State yesterday or something, where they had 8 super seniors. Super seniors. That means they are 24, 25 years old, probably. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that also has been factored into maybe some of the challenges, schedule wise, or last year's season and the year prior season, is you're playing guys that are probably of the same age as before. Is that a crazy thought? I mean,
no, it's not a crazy thought, but I'm going to counter it with, okay, maybe the rest of the NCAA is 26, 27, but now BYU's at 28, 29.
That's true.
Like, it just adds 2 more years to them. So maybe actually they start going down a little bit. So maybe the testosterone gets hit a little bit. I do see what you're saying, but in terms of mental maturity, I do think it helps other schools catch up a bit. Something too, we were talking about Bronco Mendenhall earlier. I want to point out is he started off kind of great there. Then BYU under him went from Mountain West to independent. And something that's really good about BYU culture is they'll play the big guy. I mean, you remember them beating Sam Bradford against Oklahoma.
Texas.
To start that,
man.
Just open up the Cowboy Stadium.
They ruined Mac Brown's career, right?
They did. So they're all for playing the big dogs, if that makes sense. So I think when they went independent and now they're going Big 12, is that they're just doubling down on that.
Well, no, while you were gone, I know you had a connection problem. I was saying that I think they're the most equipped. They're the most equipped out of all 4. The other schools have AAC schedules, and no disrespect to those 3 schools, because I think they're good football schools. I just think the most equipped is BYU, because they've been scheduling like maniacs. As an independent, when they went independent, I can remember me and Patty C previewing them in 18 and 19, and I think 20 schedule was brutal before they had to adjust it. But yes. I was just like, man, I don't know what they're thinking. I'm like, because they're playing so many good schools that I'm like, it's going to be hard to be sustainable for having a winning record and creating a buzz around your fan base. Yeah. But now they get into the Big 12. That's why I think they're the most equipped for being able to contend going into this year. I hope I'm not getting ahead of myself. But with all that said, that's the transfer portal. I think they won it. And then offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick is back. 43rd in scoring offense a year ago, 48th in rush offense, 48th in pass offense, 35th in total offense.
He's a handsome guy. I give him credit. He grew out that mustache. I like it, the vibe, but it's a genuinely handsome offensive coordinator. He's built for a head coaching job. I think
is that part of it's like a presidential thing now?
I think you want a guy that's gonna be the face of your program a little bit. I think he could be, but he's loyal. He's been there for a long time, so Aaron Roderick, and he had, like you said, very consistent, balanced 48th offense, rushing 48th passing offense.
Yeah, 48th in rush offense, 48th in pass offense is his middle name. Balance, perhaps 35th in total offense. Now Slovis is back, or back in college football. Slovis, I hope you learned the vital. He left USC to go to Pittsburgh, and I had read that he went there because his girlfriend was a volleyball player at Pittsburgh. I hope you learned the lesson. You don't look. She might be a wonderful person, but I'm saying, come on, you don't just do that because
transfer to your school.
Dude, when I heard like it was going to Pitt, like especially the way that they had sent Mark Whipple out after Kenny Pickett was drafted.
Yeah,
I was like, man, I don't know what Pitt's doing. Why would you want to go play quarterback there? So now I think he goes to a QB friendly system. Pat Narduzzi certainly has never been QB friendly in his life. You know what I mean? So that's exciting. Now he's got to stay healthy. They have to protect him. Because Slovis, honestly, and this is a question I think we all kind of said, like, has he ever completed a whole season? Because go back and look at last year. I think he missed the bowl game, but I think he transferred then. But the Tennessee game, he missed the second half, and that was a huge game because it went to overtime. And I believe he missed the game after, if memory serves me correct. But that's a huge X factor here, is Slovis's health, and knowing that the offensive line did have some turnover. The Barrington brothers are gone.
I'm curious on Rush's opinion. This is a Pitt guy, so you kind of have to hate him.
Yeah, I mean, this is hilarious.
But then you got BYU blood.
Yeah, this is kind of, what is the meme when like the Zach has like all the stuff going by him and he doesn't know how to calculate it, and or all the Spider-Mans just pointing to each other and not knowing.
Yeah, Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny going like this, looking at a chalkboard.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Hey, he's on the good guys now, right? So I gotta. I'll tell you what. For kind of until he comes to Morgantown.
Yeah.
And that's when it's like, okay, like I can throw all that. And then all this built up for 2 seasons, just anger, I can just unleash on one game.
There we go. I mean, look, he was only at Pitt for 1 year.
Still, that's a stink.
He was at USC longer. I'm sure he's going to.
He did say fuck West Virginia.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He did. I do remember that. All right. Well, look, Slovis is at QB. Penciled in at running back is Aidan Robbins, who I thought was a huge get. Once again, that's why I think they won the transfer portal. Those two right there. The wideout position is something that I find very interesting because yes, Cody Epps and Keanu Hill are back. I know they were looking for, they lose Puka Nacua and they're looking for that alpha that would be out of their wide receiver crew. And I don't know that, it seems like Darius Lassiter, the Eastern Michigan transfer, maybe he emerges. Maybe the UConn transfer, Marion emerges. But it seems like they have a bunch of decent wideouts, but they're waiting for someone to take the next step forward. Perhaps that will happen, especially I think Slovis, providing he stays healthy, is pretty accurate as a passer. So maybe that will help out. Issac Rex at tight end is back. I feel like this guy's been in college for 40 years because I remember previewing him for a lot of years.
I'll just say this. Puka Nacua drafted 177 overall, round 5 by the Rams. I think that's a steal.
Yeah, I like he's a player.
He's a dog.
Man. He's a player.
Yeah.
2 of 5 back on the O line, and center Connor Pay and left tackle Kingsley Suamatalala. There we go. And then the transfer portal, like I said, I believe you're going to see a lot. So if you just look at 2 of 5 back in the day, we would panic at that back in the day. But now you sit there and say, well, they brought in like 30 transfers on the line of scrimmage.
A starter from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's the way college football is these days. Now the defensive side of the ball, I really wanted to talk about this because Jay Hill, look, I host this past year, I've hosted the FCS college football experience. We're going to have our own feed with that, by the way, in the next week or two. So subscribe to the FCS college football experience. But I have been a long lover of the FCS, me, Patty C, and Weber State has been a very, very good school at college football. Their head coach, Jay Hill, who, like I said, had FCS playoffs countless times. I feel like he, I guess, and I just read an article from The Athletic about FCS coaches, being super successful at jumping to the FBS, but it hardly ever happens for some strange reason. Chris Kleiman comes from North Dakota State to K-State, and look at him, he's winning. The Big 12 championship. Jim Harbaugh came from San Diego to Stanford. Tressel at Ohio State. There's a great track record of FCS coaches coming up to the FBS, but it doesn't happen that often. So I think Jay Hill was getting frustrated, not getting his opportunity. And Jay Hill used to be with Kyle Whittingham. Same with Kalani Sitake at Utah. And now he throws away the head coaching position to come be the defensive coordinator for the BYU Cougars. I love this get. I absolutely love this get. I think he's a really good defensive coordinator. I think he's a really good head coach. I think he should be a head coach, but I'm saying those Weber teams had really good defenses. I really like this hire. I think he's gonna really change their defense, because their defense, believe it or not, was not the strong suit of the team last year. Patty, see what they were 96th in scoring defense a year ago, 93rd in total defense. So I'm curious your take on this, Rush.
Well, I think he thinks he's going to be the next head coach at BYU after Sitake. That's what this tells me. He's coming in, and something about BYU, what's always been kind of their Achilles heel has been their defense, right? I think there is this, you see it a lot, is the defense thinks they're going to fall back on the offense and the quarterback factory to get them to victory. And so they play very conservative. They're on their heels a lot. I mean, everything I'm seeing about he's completely turning around the defense, making it a lot more complicated, going to be a lot more aggressive. And I think he has faith in himself. And I know we're getting to the schedule here in a bit, but I'm really glad they're opening up against who they're the FCS schools. Because
Sam Houston State,
Sam Houston State, and then I think it's Southern Utah. We'll get to it in a bit, but I think that gives them a chance to kind of figure things out. Whereas any other year, I'd be like, no, open against a big dog, open against like that Oklahoma. But I think he's betting on himself, and I think when he's saying whatever happens with Sitake, I'm the next guy. That's what this move tells me. He thinks he's going to be the next head coach after Sitake's done for whatever reason at BYU.
Well, Sitake, I think he flirted with the Oregon job a couple of years ago. Yeah,
he did.
So that's something to monitor there. On the defensive side of the ball, they bring back 2 of 4 on the defensive line, led by Tyler Betty. 2 of 3 in the linebacking core is back. They're breaking in new corners, but once again, if you look at what Jay Hill did, he went out and actually went to his old team and brought in a bunch of transfers.
Mm-hmm. A good team.
Yeah. I think he knows what he's doing a little bit, so I'm not going to panic there. Both safeties are back too, and Malik Moore and Micah Harper. They are breaking in a new kicker, the Boise transfer, and then their punter is back. All in all, I think the defense is going to be a lot improved. I trust this guy's I think he's a really good get for them.
Let me tell you about this real quick. Weber State started playing football in 1962. Had 2 10-win seasons all time prior to his arrival. The 2 years before he got there, 2-9, 2-10. Then he gets there, 2-10, 6-5, 7-5, 11-3, 10-3, 11-4, 5-1. They finally have a tough year, 6-5, but then bounces back to 10-3. That's 5 top 10 FCS finishes in 6 years. If
he's legit,
Sitake moves on and he is the next guy, they're in good hands.
Even for the future, to me, that's a huge
with them together. I think you're right. If he stays around just coaching the defense and lets Sitake do his thing as the how did you describe it? It was kind of managing the culture and letting his coordinators do what they do. Then BYU has a really strong coaching staff there.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And look, we're going to go game by game on the schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you that we're brought to you by Bird Dogs. Yes, Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Think about Swayze and Roadhouse. All right. That's what it's going to make it look like. All right. They just make it look good. Bird Dogs does. They fit way better than regular shorts, and that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Those regular shorts, Patty C.
I do.
They're not Bird Dog shorts. All right. Bird Dog fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit. And you don't have to You don't have that restriction against you. All right. You don't have to sacrifice movement, Patty.
Yeah,
C.
for guys like that, us that are all pretty big in the lap area, it's nice to have a stretchy set of shorts.
And Bird Dog, how about this one? Uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric. I don't know what that is, but that needs to be. They should be involved with the space program, as far as I'm concerned. Anti-stink sweat wicking fabric, and I have Bird Dog. So look, whatever it is, it's working. All right, because let's say I'm just running around in life. I didn't get the shower in. Boom. I don't got to worry. I don't got to worry about,
building
smelling
up a bunch of nastiness.
Smelling like New Jersey
breathing,
or something.
baby.
You know what I mean? Like I can just boom.
The boys are breathing.
So go to birddogs.com/pool, enter the promo code pool, and guess what? You'll get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. What a deal. That's birddogs.com/pool for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you that. All right. We are back on the college football experience, breaking down the BYU Cougars. Let's go. Shout out to Cameron Kerr, our graphics guy, who did this sweet graphic here. The win total is setting at 5.5. Blindly, Patty C, without going into the schedule, which we're gonna have to go. And obviously, the Big 12, everyone's good. I feel like, I would say I feel pretty comfortable with the over because like I said, I think they're more battle tested to do fine in the Big 12 than some of those other schools. How about yourself?
Well, last year they had some ugly losses. It was like I said, a disappointing season on that front.
They didn't have Jay Hill.
That's right. The defense was pretty bad, but I do think the talent is there, and if the coaching's there, then I 5.5
health is critical. Yeah. Once again, the Slovis health. You want to know how this under doesn't, or this cash as an under? I think Slovis gets injured. I'm tipping my hand a little bit, but game 1, Saturday, September 2nd, the Sam Houston Bearcats are coming into town. I actually think this game, they better not take this. And I know you said it's an FCS game. Like Southern Utah is game 2. Southern Utah is not very good in the FCS. Sam Houston State is actually good. Like I want to say, I know A&M finished like 5-7 last year or whatever. I think it was 10-0 at halftime, game 1 at A&M last year. All right. I think they got goosed and lost by 30, right?
Yeah.
But Sam Houston, I'm just saying, tread lightly because Sam Houston can actually play ball. I'm taking BYU, but I'm actually intrigued to watch this game. And I think, Sam, I'm intrigued to see Jay Hill and everything, but I also think like, don't overlook the Bearcats, cause you could get bit. How about yourself, Rush?
I agree. 10:15, my favorite time slot in all the land growing up, but Sam Houston, I mean, you went to JMU, right?
Yes.
You've seen Sam Houston potentially. It seems like almost play you
Let's
guys
not talk about it.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
About it.
I don't mean to bring it up, but just to be relevant here is I think this is the game where we talked about getting used to the new defensive coordinator. BYU's going to win, but watch out. Sam Houston's probably going to cover.
Yeah. I feel like that's pretty safe. Patty C, what are you doing here?
Mountain West teams, I guess they've been independent for a long time, but BYU, certainly teams in that area should appreciate FCS programs that are, a threat. And Jay Hill will appreciate them because he was just at the FCS level for a while.
Yeah.
He knows how hard it is and how good these teams are.
That's true. That's a good point.
I think BYU does get the W though.
Yeah. And then the Thunderbirds of Southern Utah come in, and we don't need to talk too long about this. I think this one will be, this is an easy win. So 2-0. And then comes an interesting one. They head to Fayetteville, Arkansas to take on Pulled Pork Pittman. The Arkansas came to Provo. It shocked me. This is the game where I knew BYU's defense was really bad last year because I thought they'd be able to hang. Thought like BYU was on upset watch against the Razorbacks. Not the case. Pulled Pork Pittman got it done in Provo. Can BYU return the favor? Arkansas lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball specifically. But also switching offensive coordinators.
Might have lost more on the offensive side of the ball just based on that.
Yeah, but I still feel like I got to favor Arkansas.
In favor,
Rush. What are you doing here?
No, this is going to be last year's Oregon's game. Arkansas is going to win pretty well. Last year's Oregon game was 41-20 at Oregon. It'll be a similar game to that. BYU will lose it.
Then comes Patty C. You're taking Arkansas?
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be a blowout, but
I think it's a game.
Yeah,
I think it's a game because I do think Arkansas is not going to be as good as last year.
Yeah, I agree.
But
Fayetteville's, that's a tough trip.
Yeah. And then, but this is back to back away. Now you go take on Lance Leipold in your first Big 12 game ever, but you'll be on the road at David Booth Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas. This is anyone's game, in my opinion. This is why the Big 12 is so hard to forecast. I took Kansas because it was the back end of a back-to-back away. I think it's anyone's game, but I took the Kansas Jayhawks. Rush, what'd you do here?
I'm taking BYU in this one. I think they get their first Big 12 win against their first Big 12 opponent in Kansas. I think they just get, like I said, I think they get punched in the mouth at Arkansas. That's the thing is, here's what BYU does. They always do that. Oh, like they should play up. This should be a good game. And then they just kind of lay flat. This will be their comeback game. They'll beat Kansas in Kansas.
Kansas, and this is why I'm taking Kansas. They return the second most production in America. I think Lance Leipold's one of the best coaches. People are starting to figure that out. I still think it's like a one possession game. It's not like I'm definitive like, oh, Kansas is gonna beat their ass. No, I think it's a one possession game. I got the Jayhawks winning this. Patty C, what are you doing here?
I got a slight Kansas lean too. Back to back road, tough spot.
Yeah, so I got them 2-2. Rush has them 3-1. Family's proud. But then you have a Friday night game at home at Lavell Edwards Stadium. The Cincinnati Bearcats come in, and this I do think is a win because Cincinnati don't play at no altitude like this, and I just think nationally televised game. I got BYU beating Cincinnati. Cincinnati's in a transitional year. Scott Satterfield, a ton of transfers. You know, he's a brand new head coach. Luke Fickell goes to Wisconsin. I got them winning in Provo. How about you, Rush?
Cincinnati, like you said, will be sucking wind. BYU will be 4-1, but my family's not about to like me the next round of games. But yes, I have them at 4-1.
Patty C, what are you doing here?
I agree with what you guys are saying. Friday night in Provo, got this primetime spotlight here. I think BYU takes advantage and gets their first Big 12 W.
All right, then they got a bye week, and then they head to Fort Worth to take on the team that played the national championship last year, TCU. But TCU lost a ton. That's why I feel like this is a winnable game. Patty C, I'm going to go out on a limb. I got BYU beating TCU upset in Fort Worth. TCU played like 30 close games last year. I know there wasn't 30 games on the schedule, but my point, I don't think you can stay that lucky, especially when you lose Duggan and a bunch of other key places.
Yeah.
Or key pieces, I should say. What are you doing here, Rush?
We don't have good history with TCU. We're on a 4-game losing streak against them from the old Mountain West days. Andy Dalton used to light us up. We're losing to TCU, especially at TCU.
I love this. We're all over the place here.
I'm lockstep with you, Colby. I think they're going to beat TCU.
Yeah, I think TCU is due for regression. So I think what does that put us at right now, Patty C? It puts us at what?
I think we all have them at 4-2.
Yeah, we're all at 4-2. Then the Texas Tech Red Raiders come into Provo, and Joey McGuire, sneaky good first year in Lubbock. I think BYU wins this. I think this is, once again, this is so hard to forecast the Big 12. This is like a 37-34 game. Anyone could win this. I'm taking BYU because it's at Lavell Edwards Stadium. I'm curious your thoughts, Rush.
This will be a game where you think you'll end the game and you're like, BYU should have won that. They'll be ahead most of the game, and they'll choke it away. BYU's a very streaky team. I get they're joining the Big 12 for the first time this year, but they're going to lose this one as well. And it's going to be a game we're going to be like, well, they should have won. It's just everything but the score. It's going to say it.
I think we're going to say one thing or another. They should have won or they should have lost on a lot of these games. But the Big 12 is a meat grinder, and they're at the exact same level as every other team in this league. I think in Provo, altitude factors. West Texas, kind of low elevation. I think they get the better of them.
I do too. And then they head to Darrell Roy Stadium to take on the Texas Longhorns. They've had a history of messing with Texas. Obviously the Mac Brown years, but I believe even after that, they had one year they should have won. They missed an extra point, or they should have tied the game to go to overtime with and the BYU missed extra point. I'm taking Texas to win this, but tread lightly because this is the type of game Texas has lost over the past 15 years. What are you doing here, Petty C?
Well, didn't they get them 2 out of 2 recently?
Yeah, when it should have been, I think 3 out of 3 going back to like 2008 or something. They missed the extra point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm buying, I guess, all the hype on Texas, but I don't know why. I don't know. BYU, probably a better program, certainly over the last decade. That said, Texas has enough hype, and it's in Austin. I got to go Longhorns.
All right, Rush, what are you doing here in Austin?
Who's the head coach of the Texas Longhorns?
Steve Sarkisian, former BYU quarterback.
Absolutely. I think the alcoholic Mormon does it. He wins.
And by the way, you forgot Mark Wilson. That was another QB that played for them. He's a Tecmo Super Bowl. Back-to-back away, they head to Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. He's got to be conflicted here. He hosts the Ryan and Rush show. He went to West Virginia. Man, here's my problem with me forecasting this game. They could have fired Neil Brown by now. If things go disaster, they could fire him by here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think BYU is going to win it. But if not, if West Virginia is fighting for a bowl spot, I think WV is going to win it because this place is bonkers. It makes it incredibly hard to handicap. At the moment, Neil Brown's their coach, taking West Virginia to win it. Patty C, what are you doing?
Bold to be betting on West Virginia as their head, even with Neil Brown at the helm. But I'm with you. I think the Mountaineers get it done. Long trip.
Rush, you are now, family might not like
the
you
Civil
here.
War. Oh, they're fine. So quick backstory. The great thing about this game, guess who's getting married this day? And my fiance would not change the date. So it's in a way, it's kind of perfect, right? The old life with the new life, but I did convince the fiance there'll be a little TV hidden. Like we won't broadcast it, but like Ryan, a couple of the groomsmen be like, hey, games are on back there. But anyway, this game. So what's great about BYU is they don't tailgate. They just come. You see this blue army just show up to the field an hour before game time. It's actually an incredible thing. You're like, where did all these come from? But it's in Morgantown. This game, I think the argument is not who the head coaches are, but where it's being played. I think Morgantown has the advantage, and I think this is what BYU has a 4-game losing streak, just like last year. So I have BYU 4-5 after this game, and let's go Mountaineers.
I got them with 5-4. I think
I got them 5-4 too.
Now they host the Iowa State Cyclones. See, I'm kind of high on Iowa State this year, and I think this is one of these crazy games. I think Iowa State gets them. I think
you're alone there.
You know why I think Iowa State
alone.
gets them? Because I think they beat Oklahoma the next week.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's Oklahoma. A look ahead spot. They're like, oh my God, we get Oklahoma coming into Provo.
Oh, that's sweet.
And Matt Campbell, last year every game he was in minus the TCU game was a close game, 1-score game. Give me Iowa State to win this one at Lavell Edwards Stadium.
It's going to be another good one.
You're going BYU?
I'm going BYU.
Rush is going BYU?
I am going BYU. I went to the game back in 2009, Max Hall, Austin Collie. They beat UCLA 59-0. UCLA tried to kick a field goal. They missed it. Crowd went crazy. Did not try to get a shutout. You're going to have a similar game to this one because BYU's pissed at Iowa State for not originally letting them into the Big 12, 5-6 years ago. This is, especially if they're 4-5, like I'm saying, they can't look ahead. I know what you're saying with the look ahead spot, but they can't. They are going to kill Iowa State in this game.
Ooh.
That's such a bizarre thing. Do we know why Iowa State did not want BYU?
They don't want. I mean, Iowa State's in the. I had to guess it's simple economics of the pie getting smaller by you bringing.
Let's just say there were culture issues, and we'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes.
Think the people out in the cornfield aren't particularly.
I bet you they blamed it on that, and I bet you it was the slice of the pie getting smaller.
They don't want the smoke. Is probably what it is.
Yeah, that too. And that's another thing is that they're going to get their ass whooped most times. Before Matt Campbell arrived, Oklahoma comes to Lavell Edwards Stadium on November 18th. This is the upset. That's a tough place to grab a dub. We've seen it when Texas scheduled that thing and got just destroyed when they went up there. We've seen it with, I think the last time USC went there, they lost. This is a tough place to play, especially when you're a name brand. This place gets bonkers. Mm-hmm. I got them beating the Oklahoma Sooners on November 18th. Patty, see you?
I'll hedge. here a little bit. I know we don't do that here. I don't know if hedge is the right word, but they're going to win one of these next two. They're going to get one of the Oklahoma teams. I don't know if it's going to be this one, but if it was, I could see it. I could easily see it.
That puts me, by the way, I'm on the over there.
Yeah.
And I think if Neil Brown's not playing on that game, or if he's fired by then, I think they're going to have a 7th win then.
Yeah.
And I still got one game left. Rush, what are you doing here November 18th?
They are 2-0 against Oklahoma historically. Last game I brought up earlier on this episode is when they beat Sam Bradford to open up the new Cowboys Stadium back in 2009. They're going to win on their senior night in Provo as well and go 3-0 all time against Oklahoma.
I love it. Then the end of the season, November 25th at Oklahoma State. You know what? These games are always weird. Like Mike Gundy, I feel like whenever his team's not projected to be good, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Watch them like win the Big 12 this year. No problem. But when I analyze the roster, I do think BYU is better right now. It's in Stillwater. I've been to the stadium. It's super close to the field. It's a tough place to win. However, give me BYU. I'm on the over. I'm on a streak of overs right here. Give me the over. I think BYU's winning this. I got them 7-5 somehow, some way. Maybe if it's not this game, maybe it's the Arkansas game. I got them 7-5, and I've made this statement already. If there's one team from the new additions that ends up in the Big 12 championship, I think it's BYU. Patty C, what are you doing here in Stillwater?
Oh, they've played twice, 1974 and 1976. Lost both of them. I don't know how relevant that is. Although Lavell Edwards was the coach, so
that's true.
It's not that long ago that he was the coach.
The guy
BYU.
the stadium is named after.
This is a game it's a shame that these two teams have only played twice ever. That's why BYU joining the Big 12 is so fun. Is like there are going to be some relatively regional matchups that they're going to start to get going here. Unfortunately, well, I don't know. Like I said, it could be Oklahoma. It could be Oklahoma State. They're going to win one of them. I'll give them the win over Oklahoma just because it's in Utah. And then when they go to Stillwater, I guess they'll take the L. But both games are a coin flip, and I think they get one.
All right, Rush, it's on you. What's happening at Boone Pickett Stadium?
So my projection on this one is Oklahoma State's going to be in a similar position they were last year. Start hot, really fizzle out at the end. We saw them play West Virginia last game of the season. West Virginia, well, of course, West Virginia beats Oklahoma and Oklahoma State the years that it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I think they went on a 4-game losing streak, and then I think they end the season on a 3-game winning streak. I don't think Oklahoma is going to have a lot of fire to them. I think there's actually going to be some controversy with Oklahoma State. And I think BYU finishes off the regular season at 7-5 on a 3-game winning streak in Stillwater.
Wow. Okay.
Well, we all have them at 7-5.
All have them at 7-5, and that means like some of those other games are so huge because you get one there.
Yeah.
Especially if they lose to Arkansas, then that only puts them at the rest of their losses in the Big 12. I'm just saying the Big 12's carnage. I do think BYU's got a shot to play in the
If
Big
they
12
can upset Texas too, that's a tiebreaker that might factor.
I mean, Texas always underachieves, so you never know. Look, I want to take a moment and I had the opportunity to interview CFB campus tour, aka Michael Barker, who, believe it or not, his father actually played for BYU back in for Lavell Edwards back in the day. So
awesome.
I'm going to play a clip real quick about his experiences to Provo to catch game. And with that, here we go. Joining us on the college football experience, BYU Cougars 2023 season preview is someone that you need to be following if you love college football. That is Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour on Twitter, which you should be following because he always is going to football games, sometimes 5, 6, 7 games a week. This is Lavell Edwards Stadium we're talking, Michael, which I've never been to, but it looks so beautiful on TV. So welcome to the show and tell us about Lavell Edwards Stadium.
Yeah, thank you for having me. BYU Lavell Edwards Stadium, nicknamed LES, is one of the premier destinations in all of college football. Opened in 1964, 63,000 seat capacity. When Oklahoma and Texas leave for the SEC next year, it will be the biggest stadium in the Big 12. It started off with 29,000 seats, had a track, and it replaced the original Cougar Stadium, which had just 5,000 seats, expanded to its current capacity in 1982. They removed the track and they lowered the playing field 8 feet to improve the visibility for the lower seats. And all that's being said about the actual makeup of the stadium. what is the best part of it is the backdrop, Wye Mountain. And it is the most beautiful mountain scenery, often snow-capped, that you will find anywhere. And when you think back to why stadiums were built in certain places when you travel the country, you don't have to think really hard why this one was built there, because these, I'm going to call them geniuses, knew to put a football cathedral underneath the shadow of a beautiful mountain range. And it's one of the best places. It's an ultimate bucket list stadium as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can just tell off TV. Off TV, sometimes I go, whoa. Yes, they always have a passionate fan base, which always, to me, that's what makes college football the greatest thing on the planet. Is you get those passionate fan bases. But man, that backdrop on TV, and I know it's at a high elevation, but it just looks beautiful from television. So I got to get there. It's high on my list. Like if you told me I had a private jet and I had, which stadiums would you hit this weekend or this year in college football? BYU would be very high on my list. And I'm excited. Even this year they get, I think they get Oklahoma coming into Lavell Edwards Stadium. So not always do you catch the Blue Bloods, AKA going into a tough road environment from a school that was just recently, regarded as a mid-major. So that perhaps is a game maybe we could see you at. I know I don't know your schedule here, but are you planning to go to a game this year?
Well, I went last year to the Utah State game. They call it the rivalry for the old wagon wheel. I know that they have a Friday night game September 29th against Cincinnati, which, again, for a traveler, we're trying to go to any Power 5 game on a weeknight because those are rare. I might go back also that night is Utah at Oregon State, which is going to be a huge game. They just remodeled Reser Stadium. So, but if I had my way, you said if you had a plane ticket, you can go anywhere. If I had my way, I would be able to have one game per year at that place. They have the Cougar Tails, which is a 15-inch maple bar donut that are very addicting. And those things sell out like crazy. So if you go in a September, October, fall evening, grab a Cougar Tail, get a seat under the press box, and have dual attention with the field and the mountain range, you're going to be in college football heaven.
Gotta get to it. I gotta get to it. Coach Leach, rest in peace to our friend Mike Leach. I know he was a BYU graduate and he was always so fond of that place. Jim McMahon, a friend of the program, he's told us great stories about that great stadium as well. We gotta get to it. And folks, what you gotta do besides getting to a game at Lavell Edwards Stadium, like I said, if you're ever in Utah, maybe you're just there snowboarding or something, get yourself over there to a game to catch a BYU football game. You'll be thankful. But you also should follow Michael Barker on Twitter because, like I said, 6-7 games a week sometimes. All right, he's I don't know how he does it. I don't know how many times the guy's probably slept in his car, but he does a great job of posting like the photo of the game, and he kind of documents his life as a college football traveler. I highly recommend the follow, and please check him out. Michael, thanks for coming on the show and talking a little Lavell Edwards Stadium.
Absolutely, thank you for having me.
All right, that was fantastic. Talking Lavell Edwards Stadium, and Rush, have you been to a game there?
Yes, I brought up the UCLA game back in 2009. We won 59. Okay. Yeah, it was awesome. It was great. Another thing too about Lavell Edwards Stadiums, underneath there are dinosaur bones. It's where they store all the archaeology and everything there. Yeah, they literally play on top of dinosaur bones. That's pretty cool.
That's incredible. That is incredible. Get yourself out there and look, folks. We're all on the over with the Cougars. Let's go. Welcome to the Big 12. This is a long time coming. All right. I want to see them in the Big 12 championship, Patty C. All right.
Would love it.
Rush, I appreciate you hopping on the show. And folks, you should make sure you follow him on Twitter at Rambling Rush. If you're watching on YouTube, you see it right there, youtube.com/The College Experience. He's going to be the host of the Big 12 College Experience, which you're going to need to subscribe to. I know this episode is going to come out a week or two before their actual, podcast drops, but make sure maybe you're listening to it in late July, August, mid-July, something like that. Subscribe to the Big 12 College Experience and check him out. And also check out the Ryan and Rush show. He does a great job. So I appreciate you hopping on the show, man.
Thank you so much. I promise to fix the connection before the Big 12 show starts.
Oh, good, brother. Oh, good. All right. Give Patty C a follow on Twitter at Patty C831. Give myself a follow on Twitter at TheColbyD. Don't forget the College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN as we break down all 133 college football teams with the solo podcast for each and every team in the land. We do it every year. Also, check out the College Basketball Experience because season's coming right around the corner. BYU hoops. I'm excited. Let's go. Mark Pope. And don't forget the College Baseball Experience going right now with Noah Beanick and myself as well. Check them all out, folks. Remember to get the SGPN app. And super excited. And season's right around the corner, Patty C.
Woo.
Let's go. This is the College Football Experience, BYU style. You want to start thinking about yours.
Run and shoot.